right, guys, if you've bought the Minelab Manticore, you have the deepest beach machine in the world at this time. The preset programs are excellent in this machine, but if you want to get the most out of the performance, you do have to do a couple little tweaks. And I'm going to talk about that in this video, and also what program do you use? I've seen Calabash Digger's videos over the last few weeks where he's done head-to-heads, proving that it's the deepest beach machine in the world. And he's used different programs. Oh, this video, he's using Surf and Seawater. And in the comparison video, he's using All-Terrain General Beach, or Beach All-Terrain General. And then I seen him test it in beach slow conductors. Which one do I use? Well, by the end of this video, I will hope that you will have an understanding of where and why I use these different programs on the beach and what I hope to accomplish with those programs. We'll go through settings real quick on these, and these settings basically transfer to each program with just a little tweak here and there, and we're going to talk about that, and I'll tell you how to problem solve on the beach if you run into problems in this video. A couple of demos coming up in this video from the beach, actual depth test, actual in the water, etc., showing this in action. I will even show you some good targets and bad targets in no dig and dig sounds on the beach in this video. So it's going to be kind of lengthy, but we're going to cover a lot of information here. So with that being said, when do I use Surf and Seawater? Well, check out this little clip.
It's in line with that. Show them the coil height. That's good. Show the settings. Okay, guys.
When I'm in that area of the beach, I like to use surf and seawater. It is the most stable, and I found that over beach general and beach low conductor, which you have to neuter back, and if you try to crank those up, they're more sensitive to smaller stuff, and what it does is it makes the machine more sensitive to the salt in that area, and it'll become erratic. Now, you can hunt down there and get plenty of depth with beach general and beach low conductor, but I find that surf and seawater can be run hotter, it can be run more stable, and you have a more stable, nice, enjoyable hunt with getting the deepest performance in that area of the beach with any metal detector made in the world on a mild to moderate beach at this time. So surf and seawater, out in knee-deep water, chest-deep water, underwater, up to that point of the beach where it's really, really saturated, with salt water. Now, with that being said, if you don't want to change between programs, you can run surf and seawater all the way up through the dry sand, and it runs fine there too. I'm kind of like that. I like to set it, forget it, and go. When I'm on the beach, I don't like to be changing back and forth. So know that you're getting great depth all over the beach, but there's a couple of things about general and low conductor that we're going to talk about here in just a minute. Now, low conductor, beach low conductor, let's just talk about that for a minute. That is the most sensitive program on this machine. It hits the tiniest. It will get, when you get it stable and you're running it correctly, it will get extreme depth on like smaller gold and chains. Not when I say extreme depth on chains, extreme depth on the chain may be 2 inches. There's no other detectors except one that can even come close to that in the world at this time on some particular chains. There's different sizes, different clasps, and all of that. But extreme, just keep in mind, extreme depth on a gold chain may be 2 inches. The Manticore and beach low conductor is at the top with that. But there's a trade-off. You start getting into digging the smallest, minute flakes on the beach. When you get down around the salt water, you can get some instability if you've got the machine run too hot. So this is basically the gist of it. If you want maximum sensitivity to the smallest stuff, including chains, then beach low conductor is your program. Now, I find that the older I get, I like the stability, digging the small flakes. All right, guys. So with that being said, if chasing the small stuff is your game with extreme depth, then beach low conductor will be for you. Now, beach general is a very good all-around program. And in this head-to-head video right here, and I'm going to show you a clip of the Manticore with an 11-inch coil and a 15-inch coil real quickly over a 15-inch nickel and a 17-inch nickel. And I want you guys to check out beach general on this. Running stable, so
15 inches. $14 inches. 12 inches. 10 inches. 12-inch gold ring.
We're gonna plant that at 17 inches. That thing is hitting that thing very hard at 15. I'm gonna plant it at 17 and see if we can get it. Stay tuned.
Where's the stick at?
Okay, be close.
Right there, yeah. Right there.
Now, Beach General is a good all-arounder. You can run it down, by the water, and it'll be a little less stable than surf and seawater, but you see the extreme depth. That is the deepest detector in the world set up with that program right there. Now, Beach Low Conductor is, will match it on extreme depth on gold rings and nickels, but it also makes you dig smaller stuff and you get, more erratic behavior down around the saltwater. So for me, really running the Manticore at this time, Beach General and Surf and Seawater are kind of where I'm at. Now, I've ran it in the past. All the videos you've seen over the years, I've really liked to run it in Beach Low Conductor, but I'm getting a little bit older and I can bypass some of the smaller tidbits. And don't get that wrong, even in Surf and Seawater and Beach General, you still will dig some smaller tidbits, but that is the deal. Surf and Seawater in the wash, and you can use it all over the beach, so don't get it confused there. You can use General all over the beach, but those are my two favorite programs, and I have the performance videos to show you how great those programs are, and they are the deepest. They're deeper than pulse machines. You'll see that in the head-to-head video, but let's wrap it up. Let's not drag it out forever, Calabash. Let's make this nice and get to the point. The point is this. You can take those same programs, Beach Low Conductor, Beach Surf and Seawater, and Beach General. Now, one thing you got to keep in mind, and I taught this in the Surf and Seawater tutorial video, that sensitivity and recovery speed work hand in hand with this detector. Now, for ground balancing, I like to go up and just do a pumping ground balance and let her ride right there. And go with it. Now, you can use tracking higher up on the beach, but if you use surf and seawater and you're in and out of the water, don't use tracking, because what it does is it tracks so much to the salt water. I found that you got instability going into the water with that, and I found that the pumping over the salt water ground balance actually works better and calms the machine down. But so you get the machine ground balanced. Actually, I like to noise cancel the machine first. Second procedure, I get the machine ground balanced. Then the third procedure is I set recovery speed. And keep this in mind, in all three programs this lines up. Start out with a recovery speed 4 to 5. If you're going to be in the water, start out with a 5. If you're down in the wash, you may want to start out with a 5. And you can bump to 6 if need be, but try to stay in a 5 or a 4 if you can. The lower that recovery speed, the greater the depth. But also the lower that recovery speed, the more instability that you can get, especially in beach low conductor in general, and even surf and seawater if you're running it hot. But I have been able to run this machine on many, many beach hunts on a recovery of 4. But if you want to start out in a stable setting, just start out at a 5 and then lower it down from the settings that I'm about to give you with the sensitivity settings and see if you can run a 4. If you get instability, bump it back up. Now, you know, that's something that we need to talk about on this machine to get it stable. Sensitivity, recovery speed go hand in hand. And let me cut the volume down, and it's better if I just show you. I learn better, guys, by visuals. I don't know about you, but I like visuals. And what I found is on the 11-inch coil, 20, 21, 22, possibly 23 seems to run on the beach very well. But you'll see me hunt Myrtle Beach 21, 22, beach low conductor. Beach general the other day, I was able to get up to 23, 24. And in surf and seawater, I was able to get up to 23, 24. I actually, with the 9-inch coil, got up to 24. So with out in the water with surf and seawater. Now, with that being said, you're going to run into sometimes different sensitivity levels with the 15-inch coil because it sees more salt, the 11-inch coil, and the 9-inch coil, and that will be determined from the salt salinity and time of year and the beach that you're on. But for all three coils, the 9, well, let's put the M8, all 4 coils. The M8 in case you're micro jewelry hunting, and you can set it in beach low conductor and hunt with that M8 and find that is the most sensitive. And I need to bring that up just really quick, not let me get off sidetracked here. The M8 coil set up in beach low conductor is the king, and there's another brand out there, but we're not going to bring other brands. With that small coil, is the chain master on the beach. And like I said, extreme depth on a chain on the beach may be only that, but you're detecting chains in no man's land. They ain't a detector in this room that can do that besides one other, but we're not going to talk about that one. But you're digging this deep. So on a chain. So beach low conductor, small coil, but sensitivity range anywhere from 18 to 24, and that 24 has been my max on all 4 coils that I've been able to get and run with a comfortable, peaceful, stable type hunt. I don't want to overdrive the machine. The machine is the deepest machine in the world on the beach at 21 sensitivity. See where I'm going with this? At 21 sensitivity, it's stable, it's usable, and it is the deepest machine in the world at 21. Out through the coil set, 11 and 15-inch coil. When you get into the 9-inch coil, you got to get up to kind of get similar, you know, super deep stuff. You got to get up to that 22, 23 range. But with the 11 and the 15, 21 sensitivity, deepest beach machine in the world. So, moral of this story, don't overdrive the machine. Start out recovery of 5. If you want to live on the edge, start out with a 4. Adjust the sensitivity between, let's just bump it up, 19 and 24. Now, these videos where you see these guys running it all erratic and all that, I don't play that game here. And I've got the beach results from these sensitivities range. So 4, 5, and maybe if you're in a super salinity, salt salinity area, you may bump the recovery to 6 to get it stable. So that's your range, 4, 5, and 6 in these 3 programs in recovery speed, sensitivity 19 to 24. That will get your machine tamed down. If you don't get anything else from this video, that's the deal. Now, there is one thing that I missed and I should have talked about real quick, is this noise cancel. You see that short press right there I just showed you? Well, there's a thing called long press. If you're around hotels, you can just keep mashing this machine and let it long press and cycle through the noise cancel 4 or 5 times and then release it. And let's see what number that it settles on. And that is a trick to getting around EMI sometimes. Now, with that being said, so we've covered ground balance pumping. We've covered the recovery speed. We've covered the sensitivity levels. We've covered the 3 uses of the beach program. And somebody's going to ask me about beach deep. I just don't like it. I don't have any luck with it. I don't really get it compared to the other programs, but maybe somebody can enlighten me on it. I just like these 3 programs, and I've had very good luck, and I've showed that this is the king of the beach on raw depth with those 3 programs. Discrimination pattern, I like to run all metal. On the Ferris limits, I like to run an 8 upper and a lower of 5, and a 5 tends to knock out most bottle caps. And you could even run the preset on the bottom at 4 if you find that you're in an area where you're getting small gold. And I got a buddy from Germany. He's over in Egypt, and he was telling me he's hunting with the Manticore, that he is on a beach over there, and I don't know how mineralization is, but he's, this changes around the world. So you've got to keep this in mind, that you're able to adapt this machine and you're able to adapt to what happens to tone targets. He's on a beach where the deeper stuff kind of sounds raggedy. So I figure that it's higher salinity and more mineralization. So that is one side note. These settings that I'm giving you have really been tested and tried on my mild to moderate beach, but I've not been on a mineralized beach or a super black sand beach. So you may have to make some modifications. You may have to make the modifications when you get it stable with these parameters, or what parameters you have to use. You may have to make a modification on what tone types you dig. And I'm going to actually show you some tone types right here, diggers and don't dig. Check this out.
Shit sounds. Come show the screen. No go. Listen, known targets, but good targets. Listen to how it sounds different than the bull crap. You guys hear how smooth. Junk. Digger.
Now, with that being said, you may have to change up your strategy on how the machine sounds off if it's a more mineralized beach. Ferris volume, I like to be probably around 8, something like that on the beach. That way I can hear the cap and, hear that sputter, but that's all subjective to you. Maybe you need to bring it back up to 12 or above. But prospecting or depth theme, and I like to run the profile medium on depth, and you can see the minimum pitch, max pitch, and I think that's stock. I have adjusted it before, and you could adjust the pitch to your level, whatever you want to do. That's subjective. And the threshold level, let's talk about this threshold. it is true that you can gain a smidget of depth with the threshold on, but for me, it introduces noise. And I am getting older, don't care for the noise. And number two, this is by far the deepest machine on the beach with it off. So I will take this machine knowing that I'm detecting in no man's land, when compared to other brand metal detectors, and I will take the quietness with the threshold off. But if you're old school, like I said in the other tutorial video, you may want to run it on. But I can just do without the noise, because that way, if I'm running the machine stable and I get one of those fringe depth signals, then I'm able to hear boop, and I don't have all that noise to sort through when the threshold gets bouncy, and erratic. You got EMI, and the way that this threshold is on this machine, it's a little bit different than, say, on a pulse induction machine where the threshold is real smooth. This one runs a little bit, I don't know how to explain it, guys, but cut it on and you'll hear what I'm talking about. So I just leave it off, but that's pretty much, the settings on this machine. Now, if you guys notice, and I talked about this, I have my hotkey set right here as a noise cancel. And I like to keep that hotkey in case you guys don't know how to do that. I will go back up if I can find my way through this menu. And you go to soft keys, and basically you can jump around here and change. You see that right there? You can change what you want to do. And I use speaker mute up here when I'm filming videos, but I've started filming videos in a new way. And you can change through that, noise cancel, ground balance, whatever you want to put. But I like the noise cancel button right on the face, because when you're on the beach, you never know when you're going to hit high EMI. But I hope, guys, that you have a better understanding of what and where and when to use the different programs. Beach General, that's just great all over the beach. It's deep. Beach Low Conductors is super deep, like with Beach General, but Beach Low Conductors becomes even more sensitive to the smaller gold in the chains. Beach Surf and Seawater, down in the wash, out in the water, and yes, of course, if you don't want to change the settings or be fiddling with it, use Beach Surf and Seawater all over the beach, and it's still extremely deep. But there you go, guys. I hope this helps, and thanks for watching. And the Minelab Manticore is an impressive machine. It is a work of feat of engineering. I deal with a lot of things on YouTube and a lot of brands, and I hear a lot of crap. And I feel like sometimes that people don't give the engineers at Minelab all the credit that's deserved, especially even when talking about older Minelab units like the CTX and the Excalibur. I'm telling you guys, and I don't care, I don't work for Minelab, and I'm going to tell you something right now before I end this video. This machine will smoke a CTX on the beach on gold rings. It will smoke a Excalibur on the beach on gold. It's not even close. It's not debatable. It's not even in the same zip code. The CTX and the Excalibur are not in the same zip code as how good this machine is on the beach. So all of you guys that come to my channel, and I got to just say this, guys, and start that CTX mess and that Excalibur mess, you need to let go of your security blanket and go and trust a company that you're hold on to that brand, but go to their next model and check it out. If you're a serious beach hunter, this is the best or the deepest machine. There's other brands out there, and I talk about those too. And this is the deepest machine for raw depth on gold out there. And the audio quality is the best in the business. So thanks for watching, and there's the Minelab Manticore.